I'm Chris.
And I'm Rachel.
And today on Out and About in Simcoe County, we are at Fort Willow.
Fort Willow is awesome. I'm a big history buff and I love the War of 1812.
And we have a bigger history buff that we're going to interview today as well, Peter.
Peter, he's actually dressed up in some pretty funky outfits.
Yes, he's peacocking just for the show.
I'm looking forward to seeing him and talking to him and learning more about this whole place because I've never been here before, so.
We just learned about it for the show.
Yeah.
And that's one of the great things about Out and About in Simcoe County. You learn all kinds of new things.
We learn all kinds of new things.
Yes.
So let's go out and find some more new things. And we're going to try to find snake.
Yes, let's not forget. This is our goal of the whole series.
The whole series.
Learn and find.
It's snake.
Snake.
Yeah.
I'm here with Peter Monahan, and this is going to be basically the officer and a gentleman segment of the show. You're an officer in the military.
That's correct. In the military 200 years ago, the British Army and the Royal Newfoundland Regiment.
And this is the War of 1812 where Canada became a victor, I believe.
We're still Canadian. If you want to cross the 49th parallel, there's a customs shed. So yes, we won that one. We're not a state of the American Union.
What was the purpose of the fort?
The fort was a supply post and obviously had to be defended during the war. It kept the northwest corner of the British Empire in North America Canadian and British from the Americans. The Americans were up in Michigan and we were stopping them coming down this way and taking over Upper Canada.
Now that's a relatively short drive for us now, but I imagine in 1812 that's a long haul. And you had to bring supplies, you had to protect the territory.
200 men of the Newfoundland Regiment marched from Kingston in February of 1814. We think it took them about 30 days to get here. And after they'd built 30 large bateaus, like the one that's here on the site, they poled and rowed down the Nottawasaga River and through the ice to Michilimackinac, which took another 10 days. The fort is owned by the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, so it's actually run as a conservation area. And then a number of us, the Friends of Fort Willow, maintain it, keep the grass cut and so on. We gathered the money to build a big pavilion, so we have events here, and we animate the park on some weekends. We have a small group of volunteers who put on their historical uniforms and come out and talk to the tourists.
Do you do reenactments as well?
We have a big event in September, the 12th and 13th this year, where we have a school day on the Friday and it's open to the public on the Saturday.
Nice, okay. All right, so you want to show us around, and I will keep one eye open for snakes. I'll keep both ears open for what you're talking about. And we're just going to explore the fort.
Absolutely. Great.
All right, let's go check it out. Now, what about these?
Well, we're very lucky here. We have a dispensation from the Conservation Authority not to pull up all our milkweed. We deliberately cultivate milkweed because it attracts our monarch butterflies.
Now, they eat this?
They do.
Adults?
They eat the leaves when they're in the caterpillar stage, and when they've gotten fat enough, they just love the chinks in the palisade to crawl into and make their cocoons.
So this is vital to maintain a healthy monarch system.
Without milkweed, you don't have milk. You don't have monarchs.
Now, is there a bit of a push on because people don't want it in their gardens? I've seen people talking about it in the news where they're removing milkweed from along the sides of highways and things.
It's technically listed as a noxious weed, I believe, in the Ontario list of things we should be pulling up and poisoning. As I say, we have a special dispensation here so that we can do this. Yep. I suspect that's going to become more popular as the monarch population comes under pressure.
So there's all kinds of plant life here, and although the monarch butterfly can only breed and reproduce on milkweed, and that's the only thing that it eats as a caterpillar, it can actually make use of all of these flowers as an adult. It'll fly from flower to flower, pollinating all of those, and then going back to the milkweed to lay eggs again and have the caterpillars munch away. It's actually the milkweed that makes the caterpillar and the butterfly itself toxic, because the milkweed itself is toxic, so you are what you eat, and apparently that's the way it is with caterpillars too. Here they actually have a natural regeneration area, which I guess has been cut off from anybody going in to do any weeding at all, because there is all kinds of flowers here. All kinds of native, all kinds of non-native flowers. These are an example of a non-native flower. They're actually black-eyed Susans. They're from Europe, which makes sense because a lot of British people used to hang out here, and they are apparently from Britain, which is in Europe. Down here is a little columbine. It's a little red flower, very, very pretty. Some butterfly weed, which is amazing for if you want to plant a butterfly garden or if you want to attract honeybees, that kind of thing. There's some bluet, some St. John's wort, which is actually indigenous to this area, wild grapevines. There's some fern, which is in the springtime, it's curled up in little called fiddleheads, and people actually can eat those. I don't think they're edible now. I don't think I would want to try. They'd be very woody, not very tasty at all. Yeah, there's some absolutely gorgeous foliage here.
We're in the middle of the fort. We see different locations and different setups. Is this all how the fort was originally designed?
That's right. There was an archaeological dig done here in the 50s, and our teams identified the locations of all of the buildings within the fort. So each of these outlines, which we've reconstructed, shows where one of the buildings. We're standing in what was probably the officers' quarters. Behind us is the stables. There was a barracks, and so on.
And how tall would the roof be?
It would have been a one-story building made out of logs. It wouldn't have been fancy.
Now, I guess a question you get a lot of times are doors. It seems like everything was shorter. Were the people shorter? Were the doors shorter? Why?
Some of the people were shorter, but the average height wasn't much less than today. The doors were short because it kept the warm air in. If
Nice.
you're cutting
Okay.
firewood, you don't want to lose any heat, so you keep the doors shut and you duck your head a lot rather than cutting extra wood and having big doors.
Yeah, and I guess if you have to build everything by cutting down your own trees, the less cutting you have to do,
That's right.
the better it would be. All right.
So low ceilings work as well.
Okay. And they didn't use sod on the sides like the Vikings or anything
No.
that way?
No.
Did they put anything between the logs?
They would have chinked them with mud or clay. There was actually clay fields here, and they built brick chimneys eventually.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to go find Rachel. We're going to go look for some snakes. So, Peter, thank you very much. It was
My
a pleasure.
Good
and
luck with the snake hunt.
I love the uniform. I just have to say that.
Oh,
it's
thanks.
very nice. Excellent. Well,
Carry
I'll let
on.
you know, if you hear a scream in the woods, I found a snake. I'm excited if we find a snake. So I'm going to go take a look.
All right. Take care.
You ready, Rachel?
Yes, I'm ready. I got my net. I got a professional looking net this year.
I brought my snake hook, and look what we found on the way. From the vegetable garden to the woods, we found proof that there's a snake here. This is a snake skin that was shed fairly recently. They don't last very long in the wild, and this is from a garter snake. So we know that there are snakes. We are prepared. We have a net, we have a hook, and we have the enthusiasm. So you ready?
We've always had the enthusiasm. We just
So,
don't have the
Where
snake.
are the snakes? We know you're here, snakes. Let's go find them.
All right. This is
Why do I always end up going
dangeroso.
first, just in case?
Please go ahead, because if Chris falls, I want to catch it all on film, because it's
How
going to
often
be
would that
so
happen?
funny. 9
the
times
time.
out of 10. We're going to put some Benny Hill music to it, too.
I don't even think my off-road Segway would make
No.
these stairs from last season.
No, that's not a good idea.
Of
Of course, I also don't think our mountain biking adventure last season would have gotten us up those stairs. I barely made it down a steep hill. All right, I'm going to leave this here as proof for other adventurers so that you know there's snakes here. Give everybody hope. And now let's go into the woods. How steep is this hill?
It's pretty steep. This is more of a cliff than a hill.
All right, so I guess we'll go up the hill.
Not a good idea. Probably not a good idea to stand in amongst the poison ivy either.
It's nice and damp in here, so there could be some good salamanders.
That's what I was just thinking. Would a female be a salamander? Here we go. Here's some ants with the pupas. And there's little eggs, the teeny tiny ones. And then these are the pupas, and what they're doing is we've really messed up their lives. And they
cover
are
it back up.
Well, yeah, but they don't know that. They're like, ah, save the young. So they're taking all the eggs and the pupas and they're moving them away. These guys are going to turn into ants probably within the next couple of days. And the little itty bitty ones are going to turn into little wriggling maggotlets.
And eventually they'll all be food for bigger animals.
Yeah.
Maybe American toads.
Find some
frogs.
Or frogs.
Very carefully put that back down.
They prefer Native American toad.
Yeah, they Rach, this is a big one. I'm going to lift this one. There's going to be a lot of ground to cover when I lift it.
Really? That's a big one?
Well, it goes right down to here. So
No,
if I
come
lift
here.
It and something's wriggling at
Leave
the bottom.
it. Leave.
Oh, well, that's not so easy.
Yeah.
It was broken before I got here.
Oops. I didn't do it. What is it? Leave no trace? We're kind of tracing all over the place.
No, everything goes back exactly where I found it.
Snail shell. Very long dead snail shell. Ants have had their way with him.
Her, it,
It.
Pat.
Pat the snail.
All right, what did you find so interesting over here?
All these big logs. They're so much bigger.
See how she volunteers the bigger logs for the lifting?
I prefer a bigger log. I can't help it. There's a worm in them thar woods. I don't know. These are two different worms, I'm going to assume. Yep. Oh no.
All right, ready?
It's just he's lazy on this end and more active on that end. Okay.
This thing's just falling apart.
Dag nabbit.
Found mosquitoes.
Good for you.
Well, they found me.
Hey, Rachel has an asthma attack. Always bring your medication. You never know when you're going to need it.
And a first aid kit.
And a first aid kit. And knowledge how to use that first aid kit.
It's a Band-Aid, I can figure that out.
Could you imagine doing this with an ox team? Wow. 9 miles of corduroy road.
To be fair, I can't imagine doing much with an oxen team.
No.
They're some powerful beasts.
Here's some fungus. Those are the dead man's fingers down here. We saw them last season coming out of the trees and stumps. Those are really young. They're just starting to grow.
Well, we're starting to get a lot of rain.
Yeah.
Humidity's up as well. That'll help. And there's not a lot of light coming to the floor, so that'll certainly boost their growth.
Yeah.
We made it out of the woods. We didn't find much in there except the mosquitoes. Really, who found us? But as soon as you get to the top and back into the fort, get along here, we've got a spider and a cicada shell right in there. Since insects shed their skin, they'll actually molt to get bigger. This one here, this is not what it looks like when it's alive. It's just what's left. Basically, it looks like a fingernail after it comes off. It dries out, and these will actually live underground or tight in little holes where they can't be seen, because basically this is a snack pack for birds, for spiders. Like, you've got these kinds of spiders right up there. See, he's got a little nest going, and the web will actually pick up all sorts of things. You wait for the wind to go by, and since the web is actually negatively charged, when a winged insect comes by, flaps its wings, the web actually comes out and helps grab the animal. Very cool. Not to mention that the webbing is extremely strong. But there's nothing in there. Even animals wouldn't want to eat that anymore. But it just got caught up in there in one of the spider lines. So maybe the spider ate it as soon as it came out. Put that back there. Snake skin, cicada shed. All right, so we've seen trails of life. Let's go see if we can find some life. We're back.
Oh, you caught a toad. Well, he caught a toad.
Well, let's just say the toad voluntarily surrendered.
Hey, our first amphibian.
American toad. Really, it's our first capture of the season.
It is.
Look at that.
Well, other than mosquitoes.
Yeah, that's true.
And worms and slugs.
It's kind of cool.
It's our first vertebrate.
Oh, he's quite comfortable on the camera, too.
He's liking the warmth of your hand. It's a fairly cool day today.
And Peter said we could actually dismantle this log pile.
That's why he was getting out of the way. He was like, oh no, humans. There's some ants. Here's the little, these are the little guys, the little pupas and stuff. You can see where their nursery is here. And there's another nursery there.
Out here.
Yep. Oh, that toad would be all over this. This would be an all-you-could-eat buffet. And you can actually eat those. If they're a very good source of protein, actually. If you ever get caught in the woods, you want to try it? No, not, well, yeah, the ants, but the pupa. Silly. It tastes kind of nutty. Yeah.
They're not very good at all.
No. No. It's a lunch that bites back. Mmm.
Ugh.
Really? If you're going to be desperate, like, survival man without his Wendy's just doesn't work so good.
And quite often you'll see a lot of mice that live in here as well.
Yeah.
And wherever there's mice, we've got snakes.
What? Did I do something wrong?
Teamwork. We've got it mastered.
Yes. This is how it works.
You know what? We'll just move the...
Oh, here's something cool. Check this out. We've got a spider here with an egg casing. That would be a female. And then we've got a little, whatever the heck that thing is. Yeah, but that spider is awesome. Look at the size of her.
Huh. You know what?
We're going to have to figure out what she is.
I'm going to move that so we don't disturb her.
Yeah. I feel kind of bad that we've messed her up because she's gorgeous.
I will put her log over here. So...
Look at her. She's all standing on tippy toe.
Carries her egg with her, so...
Well, yeah. And she's probably got a few 100 babies in there.
Let's just move it down here so she's covered up. And nobody will bother her.
There.
Just like
Yay!
that. Now she's protected.
You see this soil here? This isn't soil, this is all sand.
Yeah.
This is why they actually had to put the fish into the little mound in order to grow the plants, because there's dead fish. This is very low in nutrients, so they would put the fish in. And that's one of the reasons why the first settlers from British mainland came, and they pretty much starved because they couldn't figure out how to grow anything in this soil. They didn't know the trick, which was to go and get a bunch of itty-bitty fishes that were pretty much useless, the little alewives, and put them into the ground and let them rot. And that's what started the nitrites, and allowed the plant foliage to grow. So, Native Americans doing it right since, well, forever.
Yeah.
Lots of people are scared of these because they think they're highly venomous. Chances are they are, but you're okay if you're not a tiny bug.
That's the difference. Centipedes, hunters, millipedes, vegetarians.
Yep. Little toads, hunters. What do you think of that?
I think they're getting, some are getting bigger, some are getting smaller.
It's kind of cold, so it's a chillipede.
I'm going to pretend. We're both
You're both going to pretend we didn't hear
There
that.
you go. See, he's not even curling up. It's so cool.
I'm going to pretend that I didn't hear that.
So the millipedes are getting bigger, the toads are getting smaller.
And Chris is getting large.
We're going to do airplane references
We're going to do
now?
airplane references. Don't call me Shirley.
Well, after a long day of exploring the woods and the wood pile,
Mostly the wood pile.
and there's lots. We found lots of stuff in there. What did you find on the way out?
I found some spores. I figured I'd show them to everybody since finding the animals was so sporadic today.
I'm sorry, people. I'm really sorry with that.
I'm not even sure what these are for. But what we can do is, again, we can go online and we'll take a look and see. And we might even post these on our Facebook page and see if anybody out there knows what they are.
Yeah.
You're still spitting up ants.
Day full of adventure. We learned lots of stuff about the fort.
We found lots of interesting little things.
That's true.
We found a lot of stuff in the woods and in the wood pile.
So, considering we came out here knowing absolutely nothing about
And we
Fort
found
Willow,
closer to a snake than we've ever found before. We found a snake's skin.
I'm so ready to find a snake.
We're so ready to find a snake. I'm so tired of not catching a snake.
So, it was a great adventure for us. Come on out, bring out the family.
Yeah.
Explore Fort Willow for yourself.
Yep.
All right.
I'm going to go and do some more looking.